Hi everyone, my name is Abhiraj Garakapati. Welcome to my YouTube channel Amazing Abhad.
Don't just hear the story, enter it.
Then informs him that his facial bones will heal quickly and the strained ligament will recover within a few days. However, a serious concern remains, which was the shin bone that suffered a severe break due to Ogre's powerful punch while posing a significant challenge to his full recovery. Kalli acknowledges that it is because of Azealia and Nixar that he was not cast out, but he still feels that he is not receiving proper treatment. He reflects on how exhausting the journey to the kingdom had been, yet the return felt much smoother. Time passes, and after 3 months winter sets in. The once lively surroundings are now covered in snow, and the air grows colder. Baron August, standing by the window, mentions that he has been waiting for 3 months. But before finishing his thought, he suddenly pauses, lost in contemplation. Sensing his hesitation, Nixar steps forward and asks what has been on his mind. The Baron's expression remains thoughtful. Kalli enters the room with a stick in hand, his movements slow and deliberate. Baron August looks at him and asks whether the misaligned bone in his leg will ever fully recover. Nixar, deep in thought, realizes that the injury has overlapped with Kalli's growth period, and that the bone was shattered beyond proper healing. The Baron, while growing impatient, directly questions Kalli about the truth of the matter. With a heavy heart, Kalli confirms that his leg will never heal properly. Hearing this, the Baron's frustration boils over. He declares that it is over for Kalli as he can no longer work despite his fame. Outside, the snowfall continues, adding to the tension inside the room. The Baron shifts his focus to their current struggles, mentioning the shortage of firewood. Blaming Kalli for their misfortunes, he accuses him of provoking the Joseph family and bringing hardship upon them. He even goes so far as to say that Kalli should have died instead. Nixar, while listening to all this, grows angry and decides to intervene while arguing that Kalli's extraordinary skills could make him an excellent instructor. However, Kalli refuses the idea outright, much to Kijo's disbelief. He insists that it is his decision to make. Kijo, while frustrated, reminds him that becoming an instructor is the highest honor for a retired boxer and that Nixar personally recommended him to the Baron because of his talent. Despite this, Kalli remains firm, further angering Kijo, who believes Kalli does not understand the healing process. In frustration, he questions whether Kalli's fight with Ogre affected his mind. Kalli, unfazed, tells him to focus on his own work. Shocked by his response, Kijo reminds him of his 7 victories, and Torres also expresses concern while pointing out the Baron's anger. However, Kalli dismisses their worries while stating that he has always been hated, and being polite has never brought him any benefits. He reminds them that the Baron was the first to abandon him. As he reflects on the past 3 months spent bedridden, he realizes that Kijo and Torres have gained fame through multiple fights. He briefly considers becoming an instructor, but ultimately decides that if he cannot fight for himself, the position holds no meaning. Kalli begins preparing firewood and the servants thank him for his efforts. They all recognize that he has grown stronger while allowing him to cut many trees with these. One of the workers remarks that it would be better if his leg were not injured, but the first servant quickly silences him. Kalli responds that he will recover soon, then urges everyone to go inside as it is cold. Outside, despite his physical strength, his mood remains unsettled when he enters his room. He reflects on his extensive experience and knowledge of boxing, but his frustration grows as medical treatments have been unable to heal his injured leg. To his surprise, Azealia is already sitting in his room and questions why he is slamming the door so forcefully. She finds his behavior unusual while Kalli struggles to meet her gaze, remembering their previous encounter in the guardhouse waiting room. Azealia informs him that she has come to say goodbye. When he asks if they are leaving, she explains that the Aegis estate has fallen into poverty, with business halted by the Joseph family. The rising costs of living and the decline in luxuries compared to basic necessities make it increasingly difficult to survive, especially with the approaching winter season. Kalli contemplates the dire situation while realizing how much conditions have deteriorated to the point where staying is no longer an option. He asks what their next course of action will be, and Azealia explains that they must fend for themselves to meet their needs. Concerned, Kalli inquires if the master will accompany them, but Azilia reveals that he has grown weak and is unable to travel. She explains that the master is frightened of Count Joseph and has isolated himself in his room for several days. He is deeply ashamed of the harm inflicted by the Joseph family and has come to the painful realization that power dictates everything. As Kalli listens, he realizes how much she has matured and how wisely she is thinking about their situation. She expresses her frustration while explaining that if she had power, she could protect and support her family. Kalli understands the gravity of their circumstances and begins to reflect on his own role in helping them overcome these challenges. Grateful for him saving her twice, Azilia insists that she wants to repay him. Realizing that a young girl is willing to take a step forward, Kalli decides that he should not stand in her way. A few days later, some people approach him and ask if he is a boxer. He admits it and explains that he is there for rehabilitation training. Though he questions whether logging will truly aid his recovery, he begins cutting trees with an axe, but quickly realizes that his boxing skills are of little use in this task. Determined to regain his strength, he takes up the axe and starts working. A worker notices that he is using the axe incorrectly and shows him the proper technique. He explains that raw strength alone is not enough. It is only effective for a moment, while skill matters far more. Kalli is surprised by this insight while realizing the importance of technique over mere power. Adjusting his grip, he swings the axe with greater precision and efficiency, quickly chopping logs despite the pain in his back and waist. He pushes himself through the discomfort, driven by the desire to heal as soon as possible. Suddenly a woodcutter arrives and instructs everyone to leave the area. Kalli questions his urgency while noting that they still have time to finish their work. The woodcutter points to bear footprints on the ground while suggesting that a bear has been nearby in search of prey. The workers discuss among themselves while estimating from the size of the tracks that it is a small bear. Despite this, they decide to complete their work quickly and leave. The woodcutter then inquires about Kalli while noticing his injured leg. One of the workers introduces him as a newcomer and mentions that he is a boxer undergoing rehabilitation. The woodcutter, after recognizing the name, realizes that Kalli is the one who fought and defeated Ogre during the Harvest Festival. He recalls that his own son witnessed the legendary match. Upon hearing this, the workers feel more at ease while believing that if Kalli could defeat Ogre while handling a bear would be no challenge for Kalli. Feeling embarrassed, asks them to stop using the strange nickname Ogre Slayer for him. In the evening, Kalli sits in his room when Torres arrives to ask what is bothering him. He is surprised to learn that Torres wants him to teach his techniques, despite being known as the boar from a jest. Torres admits that although it feels shameful, but he admires Kalli's boxing techniques. As he reaches for the mug of water on the table, it suddenly slips from his hand and shatters into pieces on the ground. Kalli wonders how Torres could miss it so easily. Torres acknowledges that sometimes his body does not respond to his commands, and at certain moments, his vision becomes unclear. This realization surprises him while prompting him to throw a stone toward Torres. However, Torres fails to catch it while reaching in the wrong direction. Our boy considers whether Torres's condition is due to the impact of extreme punches or a retinal detachment. As a seasoned boxer, Torres has delivered many hits, but has also taken numerous blows in return. Kalli explains that continuous hits to the head could eventually cripple him, to which Torres responds that this is precisely why he has come to seek guidance. He asks Kalli to teach him effective boxing techniques. He first instructs him on a defensive position by keeping the body and arms closely aligned. He explains that rather than focusing solely on dodging, building a strong defense can be more beneficial in withstanding an opponent's attacks. Torres questions whether maintaining this position will make it difficult to launch his own attacks, but Kalli reassures him that while it is effective in blocking straight attacks, striking from the sides requires coordinated movement of both the body and head. Kalli further teaches Torres to move his upper body while blocking punches and to counterattack once the opponent's assault subsides. However, he advises him to take a break while noticing signs of strain on his eyes and brain. Torres, however, insists that his schedule is too demanding to allow any rest. He explains that there are upcoming fights, and if he rests, he might fail. Kalli wonders why their instructor has imposed such an intense schedule and questions whether their master is becoming reckless. Despite their struggles, they consider leaving the training center, but this decision could bring more trouble to the estate. which is already in a dire condition. Meanwhile, the woodcutter observes the freezing weather while realizing that the door and family has already fled, leaving the estate in further distress. The workers realize they cannot leave because they have to continue working, while the engineers can easily relocate. As the workers search for Kalli, they discover that he has already left for the train, having completed his quota ahead of time. The woodcutter notes Kalli's speed and efficiency, while realizing that he has finished his task earlier than expected. They consider calling him back once they complete their work. Meanwhile, Kalli continues his training by punching. Before we move ahead, please take a second to like on this video. A like tells me that you enjoyed this topic. Your support helps Amazing Pai grow naturally, punching trees while delivering powerful blows with his fists. He finds this method highly effective while believing in the wolf's law, which states that repeated impact on bones increases calcium levels and make them as hard as weapons. Determined to grow stronger, he punches the trees forcefully while focusing on training his waist and back to enhance his overall strength. As the workers and the woodcutter prepare to leave, they suddenly spot a bear lying on the ground with its cubs. The bear is dead, and the sight shocks everyone. Despite their initial surprise, they feel pity for the bear's death, likely caused by another wild animal. Their concern grows for the cubs while realizing that the harsh weather and lack of food will make survival difficult for them. Kalli observes the scene closely as one of the cubs approaches him and clings to his leg. The workers notice this and comment that the cubs seems to have taken a liking to him. Everyone asks Kalli to take the cubs with him because it looks desperate. He also considers taking it in. When he brings it home, Kijo finds it very cute, but worries that if the instructor finds out it could become a big problem. Kalli assures them that he will feed it from his own portion. When the instructor arrives, he scolds them for adopting a wolf. Kalli apologizes, but the instructor demands the cubs, intending to throw it out. However, Kalli pleads with him to wait, insisting that it is just a cute puppy. He also clarifies that it is a wolf and not a dog. At that, Nick's arc calms down and allows him to keep it while instructing him to train it properly so that it does not harm anyone. Before leaving, the instructor reminds Kalli to get some rest, as he has work on the mansion construction site starting the next day. He suspects that Kalli might finish his task by demolishing the mansion, but insists that the work must be done properly. Meanwhile, Bear and a guest sits alone while contemplating his plans to achieve success by renewing his old alliances. Bear and a guest has an amazing idea to invite the nobles and conduct a boxing match to rebuild relationships. He has professional boxers, including Torres and Ogre Slayer, and believes no one will refuse to watch a match that is free of cost. Nixer mentions that it is necessary to invite the cattle and boxing team as their opponent, but if the mansion's construction continues, it will cost a huge amount of money. The Baron suggests collecting emergency funds from the residents, but Nixar explains that it will not be accepted by the local villagers. The Baron considers it his problem and decides to solve it on his own while asking Nixar to focus only on preparing for the match. He believes it is all for saving the territory, so everyone should be willing to sacrifice. He then instructs Nixar to go and prepare for the match. After a few days, luxurious carriages arrive outside the mansion. Noble people are present in the August territory for the first time, drawn by the free boxing match. It is impossible for anyone to refuse a match featuring professional boxers without any cost. In addition to the starfighters, other boxers start fighting in the ring. All the matches are interesting. The Catalan boxing team comprises talented boxers. Meanwhile, Torres and Kalli watch them while realizing that they are true professionals. In the first match, the Catalan team secures victory. While observing, Kalli hears someone mentioning his name. He is asked if he is the famous Kalli, to which he responds that he is not famous, but confirms his name. The man introducing himself is Tram from the south, a sailor. Our boy remarks that he does not look like a sailor, and Tram explains that his ship was captured and he was taken by slave traders. Once his ransom is paid, he will return home. He mentions that whenever the strongest people are discussed, his name is also brought up. Although he considers such rumors to be exaggerated, he appears fragile and weak compared to Torres. Furthermore, he advises that as an apprentice, Kalli should practice more and avoid judging others so easily. Concluding the conversation, he expresses that it is nice to meet him and shows a desire to have a handshake. He thinks Kalli is a cripple, and considers crushing his hand to get free. He believes that after pulling sales for more than 5 years, he possesses good grip strength. But something goes wrong. He understands immediately, and confusion appears on his face. He feels his bones are about to break, and Kalli asks what has happened and why he looks nervous. Seeing the confusion, he lets go of his hand. Torres remarks another newcomer acting tough in front of Kalli while thinking he will never be able to do so again after watching his matches in the ring. Our boy suggests paying his ransom to get free. He should watch the matches carefully. The adjust school boxers are given the task of finishing all other boxers. Kijo enters the battle while believing he is the best and strongest. He immediately uses his long arms to strike the opponent's jaw. The opponent is shocked to receive such a huge blow from a long distance. Torres is also surprised to see how much Kijo has changed. He has gained significant strength and fights powerfully. Torres realizes that he can even defeat Newell now. Kalli, on the other hand, thinks it is true to close the distance if the opponent is tall, but Kijo is doing it forcefully without using any skill. He believes it would be better to wait for Kijo to tire and then strike. As the fight ends with Kijo's victory, Torres praises him for winning. It is now his turn to enter the ring, and Kijo wishes him good luck. He, known as the Boar of a Jest, steps into the ring while the crowd cheers for him to punch the opponent and knock him down. As the match begins, he starts losing focus and feels uncertain about using the techniques taught by Kalli. He decides to rely on his usual style and takes a defensive position. He soon realizes that the opponent keeps advancing instead of stopping after a big hit. The opponent also recognizes Torres' resilience, making him worthy of being called the Boar of a Jest. However, the opponent looks furious and is determined to crush him. The opponent, filled with confidence, dodges Torres' blows effortlessly. Kalli watches the fight while feeling concerned about his companion's victory. Suddenly, Torres misses a huge blow from the opponent and falls to the ground. The audience enjoys the unique fighting style while recognizing it as the new Wesley style they have never seen before. Kalli observes closely while trying to understand this new approach to fighting. In this style, the upper half of the body avoids the blows. Kalli realizes that it is his technique Torres is using in the fight. He thinks that Torres is using the technique he has used in previous matches. This boxing technique is known as the Wesley style, which was introduced by Duke Wesley, who instructed his boxers to adopt it after the Harvest Festival. Now, all boxers can show their techniques, and it is not limited to traditional boxers. Many people think this technique was created by Duke Wesley, but those who have encountered pugilist fights know it was invented by Kalli. Torres rises from the ground with difficulty. He rushes to attack again, not worrying about his feelings. His opponent asks whether he knows about the Wesley technique, but he doesn't seem to know about it. Torres is now furious, and his opponent understands that this time he is different. Ready to give a final blow, the opponent finds the technique interesting. They exchange positions and Torres dodges the first blow. The new defensive position helps him ignore the opponent's blows, which only makes him angrier. He is frustrated to see that, no matter how hard he hits, Torres doesn't move. He also thinks that he has covered his whole body, but if he gets closer, he can surely knock him out. Only Torres' side and abdomen are exposed, and the opponent believes that, by closing the distance, he can land a powerful punch. Then the opponent realizes that he should avoid Torres' blow. Although his fist is slow, it moves with all his strength, and his leg is firmly planted on the ground, while making him more stable. He decides to defend and block all of the opponent's blows, a new trick he has learned during the fight. Before we move ahead, please take a second to share on this video. Sharing helps this video reach friends who may also enjoy anime, gaming, travel, cricket, chess, career basics, or personal stories. Your support helps Amazing Up grow naturally. Torres delivers a huge punch while sending his opponent to the ground. The spectators in the stands are happy with Torres' victory. Kalli looks at the fighter lying on the ground and is surprised to realize that the style is almost similar to his own. He also thinks that boxing doesn't include footwork, only hand-to-hand fighting. Meanwhile, Torres has regained his strength. Kalli realizes that while he has taught him the defensive position, Torres has done a lot on his own, and is a very good boxer. The fight ends successfully, and Gadolf is pleased to see this. Baron August asks Count Joseph if he can make him fall, as all the nobles are again supporting Gadolf. People praise the Baron for holding a great match. He is very happy to see his state becoming lively again, like before. However, the guests leave and contact with them is once again cut off. Baron tries to reach them, but he doesn't receive any response. Now he only scolds his servants because he has no other choice left. He realizes that it was just a free service, so no one paid any attention to helping him, and all relationships ended with the match. He also realizes that the spectators were present only to watch the free match, which annoys him because he reconstructed the mansion for those nobles. In a furious mood, he wants to drink alcohol and keeps asking the servants to bring it. After a few weeks, the worker was sitting in a room, and he thinks about the future of the territory. He believes that Baron August is not only a tyrant, but also a poor manager, which is why the territory isn't functioning properly. He finds it hard to believe that the Baron chose a knight to handle the mansion's repairs. Meanwhile, Anak is heard at the door and Kalli enters the room where the instructor sits. He informs him that he is returned from training and will now be helping them. The instructor asks him to take a break as it is a religious day, but he refuses while saying he prefers to work. Our guy is accompanied by the small wolf he adopted. The instructor notices the wolf and asks its name. He tells him it is called Rovo, who looks more like a fat dog than a wolf. He tells Kalli that once his training is complete, they can go together. Kalli then goes for a walk with the little wolf. Kalli trains as usual in the forest while thinking about how Kijo and Taurus have gained more strength. Meanwhile, Rovo focuses on the strange sounds coming from the forest. He soon realizes that it is not the wind, but the bushes that are shaking. Our boy has already sensed the presence of something earlier. He is then shocked to see a large bear standing in front of him. It is unbelievable to him, as the bear appears small but radiates power. He thinks the bear looks weak, but as it approaches, he finds it impossible to escape with his injured leg. The wolf stands by his master and growls loudly. At that, our dude considers the wolf better prepared than himself and regrets not bringing his axe. The bear begins to growl loudly. He decides to trust his fists and skills. The bear attacks with primitive fury. Kalli dodges the first blow and, taking advantage of the bear's distraction, lands a powerful punch on its sensitive nose, causing blood to spill. Rovo watches the bear intently, growling in response. Kalli then delivers another strike to its jaw, a powerful blow that further enrages the bear. It immediately attacks him while tearing through his clothes with its claws. Our dude, on the other hand, prepares to face another powerful blow. Meanwhile, the captain sleeps peacefully in the hut. The evening is cold outside. Suddenly a sound wakes him up, and he goes to check what is happening outside. He holds his axe and opens the door of the hut. As he steps outside, he is completely speechless to see our dude standing there with torn clothes and covered in blood. Our dude softly mentions that he was worried because the instructor had not opened the door for a long time. The instructor immediately asks about his wounds. He responds that they will be having bear stew for dinner because he has killed it in the forest. The instructor is shocked to hear this, and then his eyes fall on the bear lying on the ground. The news of Kalli killing the bear spreads quickly. The workers discuss that the bear did not look like a fully grown adult, but it was not weak either. They also realize that capturing it with bare hands would have been impossible. Some consider it a lie or a rumor, but other loggers, who are familiar with Kalli's strength, believe it immediately. They have seen him training in the forest during the harsh winter, while using only his fists to break many trees. As the winter season comes to an end, the adjusted state becomes full of life. The people discuss the arrival of the lady, and the gates are open to welcome her. Carriages carrying bags full of salt and wool enter the estate. Azalea arrives and inquires about her father. A knight replies that he is in the mansion. She then realizes that after such a long time away, he has not come to meet her. While she stands there thinking, a woman and a child pass by. They are happy to see her back in town. The little boy smiles at her and a bandage covers his nose. While looking at him, she hopes to meet our boy soon. Kalli inquires about Azalea's return, to which a worker responds that she has arrived and is much more talented now. He also mentions that a party will be held at the mansion to celebrate her arrival. He thinks about having meat for dinner, which will be a welcome change from the usual bear meat. Kalli then tells Rovo that it cannot accompany him to the mansion, but promises to bring it some food. During dinner, they enjoy a variety of delicious dishes. As they are eating, a knight arrives and informs Kalli that Azalea has called for him. Baron Agast encounters him and is pleased to see him after such a long time. Azalea asks about the condition of his leg, and he replies that he does not feel uncomfortable, although it has not healed yet. At that, she thinks that it is impossible to feel comfortable with an injured leg. She then shares her story of success. She explains how Count Joseph created hurdles for her, which angers Baron Agast. However, she did not allow him to interfere in her work and went to the Imperial City. In the Imperial City, she faced no pressure from Count Joseph and found it easier to purchase supplies. Baron Agast is pleased to hear this, knowing that the Imperial region possesses strong military power. Azalea then mentions an interesting story, which is why she is called our hero there. She talks about a famous doctor in the Imperial City who served as a family doctor and was known as the God Doctor. He is highly skilled in reattaching limbs. Baron Agast realizes that if he can perform limb amputations, he must indeed be an Imperial doctor. However, he doubts that an Imperial doctor would treat a noble from the Agast kingdom. Azalea reassures him that she knows the Imperial family, and if she asks them, they will arrange treatment. She adds that during battles, when Imperial soldiers are injured, they are welcomed by this doctor. She has therefore decided to take the boxer with her while making her father see her as a blessing. Meanwhile, Ardad thinks about the treatment for his leg. He asks Azalea about it, and she replies that she will do her best to make it happen. However, since meeting the Imperial family is not possible for her, she hides the real reason behind her efforts. At the training camp, young fighters continue their training, while Kalli remains preoccupied with thoughts of his legs healing. Then Nixar approaches him and asks for his thoughts on a trainee who are preparing for the match. Kalli pauses while trying to grasp the question. The instructor reminds him that there will be a test for the boxers tomorrow and mentions two candidates, Takayan and Shram. They compare both fighters. Takayan possesses incredible flexibility and speed, while Shram has powerful muscles and a strong desire to win. Kalli realizes that the motivation to return home is a great driving force. The coach does not understand why Kalli seems upset, as he should be happy about the possibility of his leg healing soon. Later, lying in his room, Kalli wonders if such an operation is truly possible. He recalls his condition after the fight with Ogre while remembering how luck, rather than medicine, had helped him recover back then. Doubts creep into his mind while making him feel that healing his leg might just be an empty dream. However, he strengthens his resolve and decides to stay optimistic while knowing how hard Azalea is working for him. Kyo notices Kalli hitting the table too hard and asks why. He tells him to leave the room and focus on training. However, Kijo replies that he will be taking the pugilist test tomorrow, so he plans to take a break. Kalli is surprised by his decision and struggles to understand his motivation for participating in the test. Kyo explains that it is the only thing he can do, while playing with the baby wolf and finding it cute. He asks Kalli if he will be participating in the match. Arbexar does not respond and is left wondering why Kijo feels the need to do this. The next day, the pugilist test begins. After taking, before we move ahead, please take a second to like on this video. A like tells me that you enjoyed this topic. Your support helps Amazing Pi grow naturally. The test, the apprentices have the opportunity to become full-fledged pugilists if they receive satisfactory remarks from the instructor. The test is an occasion where it is determined who possesses the greatest strength. Apprentices who pass will officially become pugilists, which is a fact that many people are unaware of. Each student selects an opponent by drawing lots and the choice falls on Kijo. He is pleased to be the first to take the test. Kijo demonstrates his exceptional footwork techniques. He swiftly jumps toward his opponent, causing the opponent to miss his blow. Kalli observes him closely and realizes that he can never compare himself to Kijo and Tora's in terms of strength. Both have become incredibly strong, and although his own training has been rigorous, but his injured leg prevents him from fully utilizing his skills, he is unable to perform them at all. However, he resolves to become stronger despite the pain in his leg. Next, it is Shram's turn. He approaches Kalli and asks him to fight. He insists that Kalli should not avoid the fight because of his injured leg, and his words have an effect. Kalli accepts the challenge and agrees to the match. Kalli is fully prepared for the fight. Nixar discusses that although he could be disqualified, they also want to see if he can perform with his injured leg. They believe that he is just bluffing and stalling for time. However, our boy asks Shram why he chose him as an opponent. He replies that since Kalli defeated him last time, he now wants to take revenge and prove his strength. At that are due to sure that he will not avoid any attacks, then wraps a leather strap around his fist. Both contenders now stand face to face in the ring. Sharam wonders why Kalli wrapped his hand with cloth. Kalli asks if he has enough strength in his abdomen. Sharam remembers that Kalli is known for combining techniques and skills with his powerful fists. He considers himself lucky because Kalli's injured leg has weakened his abilities. Sharam throws the first punch, but Kalli easily dodges it. Frustrated, Sharam attacks again, but Kalli counters with a powerful punch while sending foam flying from his opponent's mouth. The spectators watch in shock. Meanwhile, Tora observes the match and wonders when Kalli gains such strength in his fists. Meanwhile, he continues to land devastating blows with his wrapped fist, and the opponent collapses to the ground. At that, Nixar asks Sharam if Eve is alright. He admits that he feels weaker and that his ribs are broken, yet he prepares to continue fighting. Kalli realizes that although his fist is wrapped in leather, he has been striking the right spots. Kalli then questions whether Sharam relies more on his determination than his physical strength. He begins to understand that Kalli's strength is real, and the rumors of him killing a bear are likely true. However, he remains annoyed and refuses to accept defeat against an opponent with an injured leg. Sharam takes a hit from Kalli on his side, and his leg is also affected. Sarcastically, he asks him whose leg is not working properly now. Sharam, who is filled with anger and shock, is astonished by Kalli's strength. At that, his peers question why he is not moving and seems stuck in one place. However, he insists that he can still move unlike Kalli. Taking a step back, Sharam prepares to attack again. He keeps pushing forward while throwing powerful blows, while Kalli counters with his own. Eventually, Kalli delivers a decisive punch, causing Sharam to fall to the ground. Kalli tells him that choosing him as an opponent was a mistake. Sharam now realizes that Kalli is truly the ogre slayer. Frustrated, Sharam accuses the instructors of deceiving him by saying Kalli is not as strong as before. The instructors respond that no one lied to him. Kalli has always relied more on technique than raw strength. However, they admit that they have never seen him display such powerful fists before. The opponent wonders how Kalli managed to develop such incredible strength in just one season. He begins to think of him as an ogre, a monster in human form. Toras, while observing the fight, is equally surprised by Kalli's transformation. He did not expect him to shift his focus from technique to sheer strength. The boxer declares that he has changed his fighting strategy while choosing not to dodge, but to strike at any cost. Toras, while noticing that Kalli's leg is not functioning properly, recognizes his strength and determination. Intrigued, Toras wants to challenge him to a fight and test their strength against each other. Kalli decides to accept the challenge, while determined to prove his strength once again. He knows it will be the burden to fight with an injured leg, but remains resolute. After the students finish their test, spring arrives after a brief rest. The mercenaries brought by the lady leave the territory. They make a halt and Kalli watches them. A girl in a mercenary attire notices our guy and thinks their mistress's favorite as handsome. He explains that his face does not grant him any advantage since he is a slave, but the girl doesn't mind as she simply likes his face. The girl introduces herself as Salivan of the Salivan mercenary group. She's the captain of these mercenaries, and according to her, they aren't bad guys. Our guy tells her his name, and Salivan has already heard about him. She asks if he is the one who killed the bear. One of the soldiers calls the captain to help set up the tent. Kalli offers to help, but Salivan, aware of his leg problems, refuses. At this moment, Azalea approaches and asks our guy about some important matters. She mentions that everyone knows about his health issues and that he shouldn't strain himself to assist the mercenaries. Kalli realizes that Azalea is also responsible for spreading information about his condition. She tells him that they can't leave his inconvenience in the past and instruct him to follow her, while warning him to be ready for what happens next. Kalli widens his eyes in surprise and Azalea smiles, saying they will have dinner together. As they walk, Azalea explains that the mercenaries are very young. Most of them are teenagers and the oldest is 20. No group of mercenaries would typically follow a young girl like Azalea. Additionally, there is a belief that having a woman as a captain brings bad luck. Kalli strongly denies this notion, but myths like these persist. Azalea shows her desire to team up with young mercenaries who are similarly disregarded because of their age. Inside the tent, our guy brings food and Azalea insists he have dinner with her. Kalli feels embarrassed about the situation, Azalea asks his purpose to fighting. Kalli replies that like any other slave, he fights to gain freedom. Azalea doesn't believe him. She notes that Kalli is different from other slaves, suggesting he could run away or find himself in a better situation. Kalli has no response. Azalea continues, saying that she doesn't understand why Kalli still wants to be a boxer. She argues that his life won't fall apart if he quits wrestling. She then asks if he had to choose between a healthy leg and freedom, which would he pick? Kalli dislikes the word if and directly says so. At that she then tells him that if he stops ignoring his injured leg, she will convince her father to set him free. Kalli, however, doesn't care about freedom. He only wants to prove that he is the strongest by winning one match after another. He prefers seeing defeated boxers lying in front of him more than having gold, silver or jewelry, so he chooses a healthy leg over freedom. Azalea ends the conversation, tired of the discussion, and leaves the tent. That night, as she goes to bed, she thinks Kalli is a fool. She believes that when he falls in love someday, it will be too late because he wasted his life fighting. Later, Salvan stops Kalli and notices he looks gloomy. She assumes it's because of his leg and reassures him to be patient for a little longer. Soon, they will head to the free city of Corin. Kalli has never heard of Corin, so Salvan explains that it's a city without hereditary lords. It's a special trading area where the lord is elected by the people. Rich traders spend enormous sums on election campaigns, and activities like bribery, kidnapping, and even murder occur behind the scenes. Despite this, the city appears lively and beautiful. Upon entering Corin, Azalea undergoes security checks. The senior officer reviews her documents, which state her stay is for 7 days, but can be extended at City Hall. Kalli's wolf scares the guard, who understands that it is a wolf. Kalli assures him that it's a dog, likely a wolf hybrid. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to Amazing Up High. Subscribing makes sure you do not miss the next video, and it gives me motivation to keep improving the quality of every upload. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one.